Hey there, this is Franklin, and you're listening to Who Asked Us? Deep thoughts, lighthearted conversations. Here, you'll listen along as we discuss our way through the Bible with a growing, rotating panel of guests, none of which claim to be experts on any of this. We hope you get just as much out of these conversations as we did having them. Thanks for listening. Just, we recorded an entire episode like a week ago with Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't record.
Like he didn't, like his Audacity wasn't running.
He started recording and then it was like update and he was like, sure, why not? It will only be better.
We update in the middle of the recording.
I said, how far did it go? He said 7 seconds. And I've never understood the the allure of the sweet relief of suicide. Never in my life. I was like, it's time.
So here's the thing. This is why I think we should also record the Google Meet so you have that backup track. It's
not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's like it would be bad, but sometimes I do that when I record video calls just for syncing purposes. And sometimes, like if something weird happens, like if the audio like in somebody's mic gets picked up something in their room, but maybe the Meet didn't pick that up,
Yeah.
It's just like every now and then it's like an okay backup. It's
that's not a bad
ideal.
idea at all. That's pretty smart.
And maybe we can switch to video podcasts, and because that's the thing on Spotify now.
We're anonymous, sir.
You ever see videos of people online that are like they're wearing a mask because they're trying to hide their identity? I'm like, why did you point the camera at yourself ever?
But that's what I'm saying. That's why we wouldn't have cameras. Although, let me tell you, it made me reconsider paying for Riverside because that will just kind of create it and even edit out silence. It's apparently it's pretty good, is what I hear. But and then you guys wouldn't have to record at all. I don't remember. I think it's like $30 a month. It's like a decent amount.
Not terrible. But I mean,
but it's
as far as
it saves,
premium software goes, that's not terrible.
It's not, but like if this ever starts creating some type of revenue, then yes, I'd be happy to invest it in that. It would save us so much time. It even creates social media clips, which is cool.
Oh, nice.
And then you guys don't have to record locally.
I got my frozen coffee.
Ooh.
No croutons today.
Oh, okay. Just make sure you get real close to your mic.
Can you guys hear this?
It sounds like absolutely nothing. Is that what it sounded like on your end? Nothing?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Ken with a hard out is over here unprepared. I made sure I was ready.
I'm waiting. I'm reading for you guys. You guys tell me.
We're going to find out Ken is
didn't
even read the Bible chapter. Genesis chapter 26.
26, baby.
All right, 26 now.
Yeah, look at that. Not even a time for a segue. Ken's got to leave. Everyone, get to work now. Read.
Get in the game.
Start us off, Ken.
I'll start. Can I start reading?
All right. Fine.
Yes.
All right. Chapter 26, verse 1. Isaac deceives Abimelech.
Hold on.
I think that was a subtitle. I also was like,
just read the text. Don't read your. Don't read your titles. I don't even know where that comes from. No, I never read the title.
I can't wait for the receipts. Hit Ken down in the comments.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sound
if
off
I'm wrong,
in the comments.
Then I'm wrong. But my point is still correct.
A call back to a previous episode. So if Ken is wrong, strike him by lightning. Let the record show there's no lightning. Okay. Okay, here we go. A severe famine now struck the land, as had happened before in Abraham's time. So Isaac moved to Gerar, where Abimelech, king of the Philistines, lived. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt, but do as I tell you. Live here as a foreigner in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. I hereby confirm that I will give all these lands to you and your descendants, just as I solemnly promised Abraham, your father. I will cause your descendants to become as numerous as the stars of the sky, and I will give them all these lands. All through your descendants, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. I will do this because Abraham listened to me and obeyed all my requirements, commands, decrees, and instructions. So Isaac stayed in Gerar. When the man who lived there asked Isaac about his wife, Rebekah, he said, 'She is my sister.' He was afraid to say, 'She is my wife.' He thought, 'They will kill me to get her because she is so beautiful.' But sometime later, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out his window and saw Isaac caressing Rebekah. Immediately, Abimelech called for Isaac and exclaimed, 'She is obviously your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?' 'Because I was afraid someone would kill me to get her from me,' Isaac replied. How could you do this to us? Abimelech exclaimed. One of my people might easily have taken your wife and slept with her, and you would have made us guilty of a great sin. Then Abimelech issued a public proclamation. Anyone who touches this man or his wife will be put to death.
That was so different from what I have. What version are you reading from?
So this is the new. I love talking about this. I'll be honest. This is the New Living Translation. You've been
lying this whole time. You're only now being honest with everybody.
Wow. No, so I listened to this version because there's an audio version I can have on my Bible app of only a couple different translations. So this is one of them. And then I normally read the New American Standard Version or whatever, and then that's like the one I'll normally read on the podcast. So this one's a lot more contemporary. The New Living Translation is much more contemporary English.
Sure.
And I find it much more appealing because I haven't read it before, and so it's it's a little bit simpler to follow, and so but there is definitely some lost in translation stuff, I think. But so yeah,
sure. But it was also is interesting. Everyone's always had a different one for the name. The Revised Standard Version, Catholic Edition over here. But never as different. I actually had trouble following. I had to reread while you were going. I was like, where is he? Like, it's really different. It is all the same information. There was nothing that I was like, oh, he just said something completely different. But that was a struggle for me to follow. That's so interesting.
Yeah, that has happened to me before as well. But normally not as bad as what seems like you're saying.
Well, it was pretty, for me, it was pretty consistent. So I'm curious on what yours is saying.
Do you want me to quickly read through it or not? No.
Just the key ones just some key verses that you thought.
But here's the thing. It all said the same thing. I don't remember exactly what was super different. Like it, for example, kept in the word sojourn in this land. And like the order of the sentences were like flipped. Because this seemed like it was probably... I know English is often like a different order grammatically than other languages, so I think this is... What I have is probably more direct to what the original was in that way, because this one doesn't roll off the tongue as nice, whereas like yours, like you said, seems more modern, seems to roll off the tongue a little better. It was really just stuff like that made it hard to follow. But the info was really the same. The only big difference was when you said caressed Rebecca, mine literally says Isaac was fondling Rebecca.
Mine just said he was Isaac was laughing with Rebecca. So I don't know what kind
surprised.
Of mine is PG-13.
I'm surprised
they're PG.
It didn't say like he saw Isaac like knowing Rebecca. You know what I mean? Like to know somebody in the biblical sense.
Well, I mean, that would be wild. Right?
That would be crazy. Because like, why are you doing that out in the field, bro? It
was just like an intimate relationship. It wasn't like, it definitely wasn't some crazy.
Yeah, it was like, you have your arm around your girl kind of a thing. And someone's like, that's not your sister.
This is not like, well, because basically that's the thing. It's like, all right, you're saying this is your sister, but like, as far as what Abimelech knows, that's not what brother and sister did together. So it's a little bit of intimacy there.
Sure. I thought it was interesting when it said that, where was it? Verse 5, because Abraham obeyed my voice. The reason that God is continuing this blessing. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. We haven't gotten any laws or statutes or anything. Commands, I totally understand. It sounds like even though Abraham faltered and did wrong, it was never God told you to do this and you did not do that. But I don't remember any like laws or anything really happening. I'm curious if there's
besides like circumcision and things like that, and don't go here, go here, don't go back to this, and then Abraham making sure that Isaac didn't have a child from.
Well, that wasn't from God.
Didn't get a wife from a. Well, I guess what I'm saying is the whole aspect of stay in this land, this wandering in this land is kind of God's charge to Abraham, right? It has been from the beginning. Like, don't go back to your hometown.
Well,
leave your hometown and stay out
I'm
here.
Curious. I think there's like...
Which is that's not a law. That's more of like his command or his charge to him.
Well, I'm curious, right? So, like, for example, later on it mentions that Abimelech said, what is this you would have done to us? One of the people might easily have lain with your wife, and that would have brought guilt upon us. So they know as a culture right now that you should not be coveting thy neighbor's wife, right? That is not a commandment yet. The commandments haven't happened, but that is something that they know to be true. So there's like, I think there's some inferences you could ponder, right? I could turn around and say, so obviously there is some cultural law, right? And Abimelech, even though I don't think this is the same Abimelech, I remember Abimelech is like a title, more like Pharaoh.
Yeah, Abimelech means like father.
Yeah, so I'm assuming this is a different Abimelech than the last one that Abraham lied to about his sister. Otherwise, fool me once, fool me twice.
Well, he didn't get caught this time. I think he was at it. He was like, "Let me see."
Yeah, this time he got caught.
Let me
Last time
watch.
God snitched.
He was like, "What?" Yeah.
But regardless, as I'm looking through this, I'm curious. Maybe since this previous Abimelech, which was also, I believe, king of the Philistines, interacted directly with God. So God has some interaction with the leader of the Philistines. I wonder if God is still is now a revered. Revered. Paul revered. If he's a revered, I wonder if they keep that God now, is what I'm trying to say. And if so, I'm curious if they know, okay, this is God doesn't want you to covet thy neighbor's wife. I mean, yeah, it's not on the commandments to the Israelites, but I wonder if there were some type of rules that they understood in relation to God.
Well, I mean, there definitely was. So, and then maybe Sunday school is a bad job of framing things in people's minds, but the 10 Commandments were never like the first laws ever created. And it was never like, oh, before then people didn't know.
No, but we have talked about the idea of things being right and wrong and going, yeah, there's right and wrong, but laws just hold you accountable. But right now, God is mentioning to Isaac that your father followed my laws. So I think it's interesting to go, okay, these laws weren't notated here. We don't know about them. They're not kept in the Bible.
Well, we also don't know what laws. Maybe God. There's so many years that happened in Abraham's life that it's not on.
That's what I'm saying.
So it could be.
I'm saying, I think it's
things.
a safe assumption to go, Abraham has been given some type of law, and I think it's fair to say they'll probably lose that when they go into slavery into Egypt in a lot of ways, and as they kind of have to refine their culture and refine their relationship with God through Exodus, that's where we get it notated, right? Because Moses didn't even have it really,
Well, I don't know if law at this point is something like that's a written down set of laws you got to follow. I think it's more.
I didn't say written down.
Yeah, I think it's just more of kind of internal between a relationship between God and
that's what I'm saying. But that means God had to give him some type of he had to make those statements. You don't know what God wants you to do until God tells you. But God gave that to Abraham in some way, and I'm sure Abraham kept his house, held accountable to those laws and commandments and etc. But I just think it's interesting that they're notated here, haven't been notated before, and even Abimelech is referring to, no, we know this is wrong.
So,
I mean,
I just have an introduction here. So, back in earlier chapters of Genesis, back when Cain killed Abel, and hang on, I'm gonna mess something up here. So Cain, right, was cursed, or whatever. There was some law that if somebody killed Cain, then they would have been, punished 7 times worse, right? So
and was that from God or was that from?
See, yeah, that's what I'd have to look back to look, but that felt like a law, right? And then some descendant of Cain then killed somebody that attacked him, and then he would have been cursed 77 times, right? And so, or punished 77 times, something like that. So, does that count as a law? And so, actually, my translation doesn't even say law. It says, let's see here. Commands, decrees, and instructions, and so those all kind of sound similar
because it's not Torah, it's Torah, which is instruction.
But it is interesting to. I do think this is also a thing that I've found in science, talking to scientists and engineers and things, where people get held up on words like theory, law, hypothesis, right? Where it's this is I don't think this exactly pertains to this discussion.
No, but I see what you're saying.
Where it's the correct thing that when we have a guess, right? A lot of times we have a hypothesis, and the best hypothesis turn into theories. We don't call things laws anymore, like the law of gravity, right? We don't even that's just kind of an old habit from really old scientific discoveries.
I love that fact that gravity isn't really. Was it? I'm going to phrase it really poorly, but isn't gravity?
You're about to prove my point.
Well, it's one of those things where it's not specifically. Yeah, I agree with you. It's we're not positive that is exactly what it is. We could but we do see the effects of gravity, so we know something is happening. But the way that we describe gravity is pulling things.
The
down.
mechanism that we are describing is the way the world works. Is still kind of
the theory.
We don't claim it to be.
Yeah. So the theory is has yet to be disproven. That's the idea. So we have some mathematical, equations that tell us how things will behave under the influence of gravity. And we just happen to call that one law because Newton came up with it 400 years ago or something. Yeah. And so, but yeah, we don't do that. So that's the only relation I kind of have to this this text here with that is that I don't know if it's like a weird cultural thing that we're living through where the word law maybe means something different. But again, my translation doesn't even say that. So I can't even really. It's just something that comes into my head when saying like I probably wouldn't get held up on that word, but I think like for my interpretation of it is ultimately that like Abraham, like basically did everything he possibly could to be a faithful servant for the most part.
I think the only thing that I would put on top of that, I'm not thinking law like, hey, something was written down that we lost, that we don't have anymore. But I'm noticing that there's obviously things that Abraham was told how to live his life and keep his house that weren't included in this text, and that's fine. And I just think it's worth noting that they do have those things, right? There are expectations still set upon them, and you're seeing that, right? With you're seeing that with Abimelech. You're seeing that, with how he's talking about Abraham and expects Isaac to act. Is it written down? Is it held by government? You know what I mean? Like, no, it's not law in that sense. But it's just cool to see, like, oh, look, we can infer that there was more instruction that is not included here, and that's fine and good.
I do want to also make a point of God telling Isaac not to go down to Egypt again. And there's this like there is some reason why God's telling him not to go down to Egypt, and I'm not entirely sure why, because there is a famine that's going on. So there's no food. So normally when there's famine, you go to the places that have food,
which has been Egypt like consistently,
exactly, which has been Egypt. But instead, Isaac's going to the Philistines, right? To Abimelech this time, but God's like, "Yeah, don't go to Egypt. Just go, stay wandering in this land that has this famine." And it's just like he's like, "But I'm going to be with you," right? So it's kind of like a little testing point too.
Yeah, that's interesting. Where like his instincts might be to go to Egypt. Is that what you're saying? But like God's like, no, like I'll be with you. So and then obviously the next verse talks about, which we'll get to, I'm sure in a minute, talks about how he was able to harvest 100 times more grain than he planted. So, but just quickly, before we get to that, though, I wanted to also mention how is there supposed to be? Do you guys interpret this as almost some type of lesson where, maybe? I mean, this is something you included in the show notes, Ken.
Sure.
Repeating the sins of your father, kind of, or mistakes of your father, kind of theme, but also that I wonder if this is supposed to tell us something about the character of Abimelech. Like from a story point of view, like he would never even think about, killing somebody to sleep with their wife. He would be more worried about accidentally sleeping with somebody's wife, not knowing that they were, So it's like, are we just learning from a story writing perspective? I would like, if I were writing a story, I would like that's how I would show that a character is a person has good character, not tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we did talk about how God dealt with the previous Abimelech and Pharaoh differently when Abraham did this twice, and how that definitely shows a difference in character between the two of them. I don't know why it's like that here, because I almost want to go, yeah, okay, I know the Philistines are open, you know what I mean? Maybe it's showing you like the growth of the Philistines. I don't really know what the Philistines end up as.
Yeah, can you refresh my memory then on what you brought up the previous time?
Yeah, so the first time when Abraham went into Egypt, he lied. He was like, "All right, Sarah, I'm your brother. You're my sister." And he lied, and Pharaoh took Sarah as his wife. Then God put plagues onto Pharaoh, and then that's what caused Pharaoh to go, "Whoa, what have you brought onto us? Take her back. Like, why did you do this to us? We wouldn't have done this knowingly. And then the next time that Abraham does that is with the previous Abimelech, the previous king of the Philistines. And same exact situation, and instead God comes to that Abimelech in a dream and says, "She is the wife of that man. You need to give her back. I have stopped you from sinning in this way. I know that you didn't intend to, and I have stopped you from doing so." And so our first question was, why is God dealing with the Pharaoh and the Abimelech so differently? And we came to the conclusion that, well, God is going to deal with you in the way that he needs to put his plan forward, right? So he dealt with the Pharaoh. Maybe the Pharaoh just wouldn't have been open to a dream. The Pharaoh we talked about is a self-proclaimed god, maybe, so He did it in that way, whereas Abimelech, he knew I could talk to this man, and this man will be open to me, and etc.
Well, I would say then this third instance, this other Abimelech, this one, he's conscious of guilt of doing the wrong
That's
thing.
what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
So maybe it's showing that, like, okay, they were open, and now look at, and I'm almost looking at, this is probably the representation of the culture of the Philistines. Now it's showing their growth, where they go, no, we know this is not a way that we act. And that's kind of what I meant before, too, is it seems like they've been open to God maybe now. I don't know who the Philistines are other than what we've been told so far. I don't know where they end up. I don't know what they become culturally, but it almost seems like they're interacting with God in their own way now.
I think in this context, Philistines they're not monotheistic, right? They're most
Sure.
likely polytheistic, and they probably just think of, oh, well, this is just another god. If honestly, in this particular paragraph, there's no mention of God or the gods or punishment. But I mean,
Mhm.
bringing guilt upon us, that is more of a legal term. It's not like bringing a plague upon us, which is two different things, right? So in terms of guilt, it's like, I mean, Isaac is still wealthy. He's as wealthy as Abraham, if not more, right?
Yeah.
And bringing guilt, I mean, that's like, you're coming into this. I think it's more of a political thing from what it seems like in the text. I don't think it's more of a religious thing. I think it's more politically like, someone could have slept with your wife. Why would you say that? So now you know what I'm saying? Like he's like, because if that would have happened, there would have been a huge problem, right? There would have been guilt, and that my party would be guilty, and then there would be some problems between me and you. So instead, I'm like, listen, no one touches this man or his wife, because I think it's more political reasons for Abimelech, not necessarily so much religious reasons, or at least from what I'm reading here, I don't really see a religious reason for it.
But I would just throw in there that if there is a legal reason for it, law is us deeming what is right and wrong, and where does right and wrong kind of come from. So I think something would need to make them. Is that where you were going, James?
Yes. Do you have? I'll let you finish though.
I mean, that was basically it. Like, it's not like we can go, oh, that's just the law of their people. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, where did that come from? And that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. So this is exactly what I was going to say, and so I'm going to kind of go away from, infer maybe a little more than the text allows, which Ken is, loves doing.
I'm all for
it. So the first thing is, maybe like by showing this example, there's a similar thing happening 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
You see this trend where it's like, okay, the Pharaoh needed something as strong as a plague to show him that this was wrong. And then the first Abimelech only needed a dream. And now the third Abimelech recognizes it on his own.
Didn't even need, God doesn't even.
And so it's like this. And so I wonder if it's kind of twofold, where it's this progression telling us as the reader of this passage that like kind of like how sophisticated civilization might be getting at this time, right? Like, maybe civilization is not the right term, but these civilizations,
I would agree with that. Second, like this specific culture, it's showing you the growth of that and the differences between.
And so like 2 generations.
Ultimately, but we also know that Abraham lived a long time, right? And so Isaac probably also lived a long time.
And not just that, God literally interacted with this previous Abimelech. I'm sure he didn't keep that a secret.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so that's where this now like law comes from. So as you're saying, Ken, like guilt sounds like this legal term. It's like, well, if somebody had this strong, had as much power as, whatever the leader of the Philistines, the king of the Philistines, right? Then it's the law now.
Because that's another thing too. That's
I had a bad dream.
Because that previous Abimelech, we're assuming it's a previous Abimelech, but let's say that a previous Abimelech would have said like that would have been passed down oral tradition, like they would have known.
Yeah.
So that could have influenced it. All right, let's keep going.
Here's where last thing I'm going to say. Here's where I'm going to go a little past the text though. And what
audible gasp.
Yeah. So Franklin, what you just said, like where God comes to you, gives you messages in ways that you're ready to receive them, and that's a really frustrating thing for me to contend with personally, because it's like I have this like very jaded view on on kind of like on miracles, I guess I could say, right? Or like how people like perceive messages and signs from God and stuff.
Sure.
And honestly, maybe that's just because for the listeners at home, I am I happen to be a scientist, and so I'm and I'm not saying that you have to be a scientist to think this way, but whatever. So I tend to. What was that? I'm sorry.
What kind of scientist?
I'm an engineer, so I can go into more details, but we can say it for another time. So long story short, it's frustrating for me to contend with that because it's like it makes me realize I probably should be more open to looking at things in my life as some type of sign. I don't want to say like divine intervention, but some type of sign or message, or message that maybe I'm not going in the right direction, or maybe I am. Something along those
Because here's
lines.
the thing: a miracle doesn't have to be a big shiny thing, right? Like Ken was saying in a previous recording, in Job, that God kind of turns around and goes like, "Do you understand that I'm thinking about the waves going and pulling back and the hummingbird's wings, and like I am thinking of everything in orchestration. God is playing the universe like an organ, right? Like it's such a beautiful and overwhelming thing that he's aware of everything. He knows all the hairs on top of your head. Like he knows everything. So like some people, for example, will talk about like a butterfly fluttering by as communication from God. And I look at that and I go, yeah, why not? There's no reason that isn't. Well, I'm not saying everyone is, but it could be that subtle. It might have to be bigger depending on who you are. And I wish I was the kind of person that could just like I turn to God sometimes and go, "Talk to me in a dream."
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
blind
I need to know.
am.
And I'm like,
if I was doing something wrong, give me a plague. Like I'll know. I will repent.
I think
Yeah.
we're just all just dense, hard headed.
Well, and Natasha talked about like we have the Holy Spirit in us. You could listen to that guide you, and that's God communicating with you. And I'm like, or it's me being stupid because sometimes I'm stupid. Like,
and then
that's what
gets later on. Obviously, that's what gets Jesus frustrated with the people of his day. He's like, I'm doing all these things, and you guys know, like, if I did this to this other civilization in Sodom and Gomorrah, they all would have been repented and all would have believed, right? And here I am, literally like walking on the water, raising the dead, and you guys are like, nah, you must be a demon. It's like you can't win. You can't win.
No, it's definitely crazy, and I think that is definitely a fair takeaway. About communication with God. I wish he would. I don't know where he can. I don't know his communication of least resistance. Like he's not going to over communicate to you if you don't need it, and he's not going to under communicate to you because then you won't receive it.
But there's a little bit of a mystery, like like it's
is a little bit
that
of mystery.
term. Oh, not that phrase. He's like, "Oh, seek the Lord while he may be found." Like you seeking after him, and then you will find him. I think that's kind of the point. But it's like if you're not seeking after him, like
I just hope I'm aware of when I find him. If that makes sense. Like when I ask questions and I'm looking for answers and I'm really open to hearing him, I'm always afraid, like let's say I'll go, oh, okay, maybe this one makes more sense. I'll go, or am I just rationalizing the one that I want it to be? You know what I mean? Like the Greeks talked about the arete as the ability to reason, the gift that separates us from animals. And you could use that to find the truth with a capital T, which I think what we're doing here. Or you could use it to rationalize your hedonistic pleasures or, etc. So... Yeah, 100%. And I don't know which way I'm using it sometimes.
Let me continue.
Go for it.
Well, just the nightcap I'm going to put on that is that's a hard thing to do, and that's
very hard.
Being open to that messaging, and then also being willing to admit maybe that messaging, maybe that wasn't the right message, right? Maybe that wasn't God. But I guess that's knowing that.
I think a lot of it's just being humble, right? No matter how big or how small you get. The entire world is absolutely insane, right? Like you can go look at a little grain of sand, but then under a microscope and then under an electron microscope, and then they're like, you don't know, like it's just you gotta be humble, right? Like, and once you're humble and you realize, maybe everything does make sense, and I'm the one who just doesn't know anything.
And despite how hard this is, the thing that is harder is Kenneth's out today, and we have a lot of verses to go through. So I will finish that little bit with humble means thinking about ourselves less. So as we go, am I getting this wrong? It's like, just stop thinking about you. Let him do it.
Yeah, let's go. So I must continue verse 12. And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. Wow. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, because you are much mightier than we are." So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "Well, that water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also, so he called its name Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it, so he called its name Rehoboth, for saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land."
Wow. You know what's funny as you were reading that? I didn't get a chance to read this beforehand. Having a kid sometimes changes your plans. So as I'm reading through this, I'm having thoughts that will change direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, the Lord blessed him with all these riches. Like, it's interesting. I'm not saying that riches are inherently bad, but I don't feel like that's God necessarily promises riches as a reward or anything like that. So I was like, oh, that's interesting that he's getting these rewards, but those rewards ended up actually making his life harder. You know, so it was just interesting to.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, that's an interesting gift from God, is all this wealth, and then it's like, oh, that wasn't specifically a gift from God. That was more of God. You know, yes, that is a blessing. It'll help him get through this next thing, but it's not just to, put him into comfort.
I think about this a lot. Even again, just going back to the beginning of Genesis with Cain and Abel, right? Abel had a bountiful harvest, or no, he gave his most precious lamb. Right, or for as sacrifice, and Cain gave his whatever bundle of fruit or grapes or something, and it's just like, so Abel was killed because of jealousy, right? And so Cain killed Abel because he was more had bigger bounty than him, or something along those lines, right? I'm not going to relitigate
the blessing
the whole
was
process.
God's regard for his thing, right? Like,
yeah.
Well,
but now we go back to this, and it's just like, so this is Isaac was told, "Don't go to Egypt," and I would assume that now, knowing the whole story, right? He was told not to go to Egypt because that would have been his instincts. That's where there's a bountiful harvest and things at the time. But also, he could now kind of spread this message and commands of God to the Philistines in this way, but by doing that, by showing them how bountiful he is, it first creates hostility or jealousy or something, and then eventually we'll move on from there. But I think that it's kind of showing, even if you are successful, even if you are bountiful, you have good harvest, you have wells full of water, right? And people get jealous over it. Like Isaac didn't I don't think he contested. At least the text doesn't seem to say he contested keeping those wells. He left and dug another one. The Philistines, you can have this one. He's like, it's not even my. Yeah, sure, I dug it, but it's not my well. It's not my water, right? Like God gave it to me. So he's not trying to start an argument in that sense. And so it's kind of like that idea where good things happen because of you following God, not not because you're whatever, I don't know, smarter than everybody else or better or have more resources than everybody else, and that kind of thing. So it does cause hostility, but that's like the warning. And then but I think this is actually a good model. This whole chapter is a good model of kind of how to overcome that. If we keep on going, or if you guys want to talk about it more.
Well, I guess all I'll say is more money, more problems, and
only if you want to hold on to that money. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, and I also just look at it as. I think it's very easy to look at other people and go, their life must be so easy. They have way more than I do. And it's like, listen, this life is hard. This life is full of struggles. You know what I mean? Like on earth is hard. This is a broken world. You know what I mean? If you have a lot of money, people will be jealous of you and kick you out, and if you, you find riches somewhere else, maybe other people will claim it as their, whatever. Or you could be poor and starving, and that's also bad. And I'm not saying which is more or less bad. I'm not looking to do the comparison stuff. I just think we're looking at it and should realize that God isn't giving you hedonistic rewards as a reward. He gave it as a means for Isaac to be able to then fund moving and find the place to settle that he actually needed to end up. It's all part of God's plan.
Well, I don't know about
Isaac
that. I'm just reading the text. And it says,
but Isaac
that-
wasn't pearl clutching. You know what I
I'm
mean?
reading
Like,
the
he
text.
was. I think
Tell me the
And
text.
it says Isaac sowed in the land, so he did his work, and he reaped the same year 100-fold. That is a blessing, right? Because sometimes you can sow in it and there's a famine. Sometimes you sow in it and you only get 7-fold or 2-fold, but he got
Sure.
100. So yeah, the Lord blessed him. He did the work, he got blessed, and he became very wealthy because of it. No problem there. And other people envied him. Anytime you get a blessing, it doesn't matter if it's monetary or not. Just like with Cain and Abel, right?
Mhm.
Abel got blessed. It wasn't monetary, it was just regard for his thing, and the other person's envious. Some can, like, any type of blessing that you get, people will be envious of. And it doesn't matter if it's something you did nothing for, something that you sacrificed for, like Abel, something that you worked for, like Isaac, or something that you were just
Mhm.
born with. People are going to be envious of anything that God gives you and blesses you with. I think that's just a fact of human nature.
I don't think.
But how Isaac
what I s-
handled it and how
Yeah.
Abimelech handled it too, because I think Abimelech and Isaac are both the only wise kind of people in this section. Abimelech is saying to Isaac, "Listen, you gotta leave us because you are greater than us, right? Like now, not only you're blessed, you're wealthy, right? And then there's envy coming between these two people. Like you go to your side and don't be like together." And I think there's a wisdom in that, because if you're being blessed heavily, you really can't be around people who are going to be envious of your blessings and all the things that you get, because it's going to cause problems. And I think Isaac shows that as he goes from valley to valley. Now he goes to another valley. He went to the valley. His servants dug the well. I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys ever dug a well before, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And then these other guys in the valley, like, oh, this is ours. Now Isaac could have stayed and fought and contended, but he's like, you know what? Okay, cool, whatever. You have it. Separate yourself. Just keep on going. And I think that's also a key part of wisdom. In when you're blessed, but you're in a place that's not really yours. You don't really have it. You're sojourning through the land. You're going to be around a bunch of other people who are going to look at your life and they're going to be upset at you or think that whatever you've gotten for yourself is wrong or is theirs or whatever. You don't need to fight them. Just, move on. Just move on, because God's going to keep on blessing you. That's kind of really what it is.
But that's the thing is, I don't think those two things can't be true at once.
Oh yeah,
is what I'm
I
saying.
agree with that. But I'm just saying, I don't think this text is saying the other thing.
What is sum up the other thing?
You're
What do you
saying
think we're
about
saying?
now I may be getting James and Franklin's points mixed up, but about clenching on to the wealth, or what was James's point?
Yeah,
And
that was
Franklin's point was about you have to give away the wealth, or he didn't say that. But
That was
something
my
like
point.
That was your
Yeah.
point, James. I forgot your point.
Yeah.
but it was
No,
similar.
So you
I just look at it
disagree.
as-
That's
Mhm.
okay.
I just look at it as, I don't think people should go, well, I'm not being blessed with money. God, like, why isn't God rewarding me with money? Am I not doing the right thing? I'm looking at it and going, yeah, God blessed him with money, but that doesn't mean God just made his life really easy.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's my point. I'm like, it doesn't matter what the blessing is.
No.
Yeah.
No. That's my point.
No,
I said it first.
when I say that,
I'm just
that
kidding.
is the point I'm about to make. I didn't actually make it. God's blessing, it's God's blessing itself that can cause problems. It doesn't matter if it's money or not.
But that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. I'm saying like our
Yeah,
two
yeah.
opinions can
Uh,
totally be
Got
true
it,
at once.
got it. That makes sense.
You know, I just think, and I think that's worth notating, because
Mhm.
at the end of the day, yes, God blessed him in these ways, and God didn't make the other people jealous.
No,
Don't
there's
get me
people,
wrong. That's their fault, but God knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
God is aware, and that's serving the I mean, it pushes Isaac to where Isaac needs to go. You know, so at the end of the day,
God knew that by regarding Abel's sacrifice, that would make Cain jealous, and Cain would go and then kill Abel.
yes, and I think someone could make what I do think is a very not intelligent argument, where they can go, well, then it's God's fault. And I go, no, because like Cain still made the choice that he made. He's free to make it. Just because God knows he's probably going to make that choice
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's God's fault that he makes it.
Mhm.
You know? So yes, I do think that God knew that was going to happen. I don't think that's a surprise to God. But
We actually talked about that at the time when we recorded that episode. Was God even said to Cain, he's like, hey, don't be jealous, work hard and try again, basically. And didn't work, you know. But okay, Ken, do you want to bring us home and read the rest of this chapter?
No, let someone else read because I just read.
I didn't get to read. Where did we give off? 23? Let me just get this list. Coughs out of my system.
Oh, yeah.
It's the cancer. It's fine. All right, so 23. From there, he went up to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Fear not, for I am with you, and will bless you, and multiply your descendants, for my servant Abraham's sake. So he built an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants dug a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me, and have sent me away from you? They said, We see plainly that the Lord is with you. So we say, Let there be an oath between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. So he made them a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and took oath with one another, and Isaac set them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, We have found water. He called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. When Esau was 40 years old, he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and they made life better for Isaac and Rebekah. Bitter. That's a very different word that I've heard.
No.
And they made life
That's
bitter.
That's a strange little.
It's like next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Because.
Well, so I just want to go back to my earlier point. The fact that Abimelech and all his homies, come by and they say, "We see that you are blessed by the all caps Lord." That they understand that is a being, a deity, and I think even the way that they refer to the Lord might even infer. I mean, so when it's all caps, one more time for the people in the back, that means they're calling him Yahweh, which is the God of all creation. Correct?
What verse are you? Well, yes, in general, when they say in all caps, that's Yahweh, but
is that also, does that mean they're referring it to the one and only creator God?
Well,
like, are they referring, is that a monotheistic thing to say is what I'm asking?
Well, that's what, let me think of what I'm trying to say here. For them, for the Philistines, they're just understanding things in the terms, understanding this new God of Abraham in the terms in which Abraham would have communicated them. Does that make sense? So
yes, but basically what I'm saying is, if they're referring to him in this way, I don't think it's unfair to say that they might also be monotheistic.
Yeah, they may be leaning to. Well, I don't know if they're necessarily monotheistic, but they're leaning towards. Oh, wait, Abraham's God is a little different, or is different from these other gods, right?
I'm saying I don't know for sure. I think it's fair to say it. I mean, we know that there are other monotheists. Like, actually, going back to our conversation last time about Islam. And saying that, like, how Islam believes Ibrahim is the first monotheist. Melchizedek.
Yeah, so I was thinking about the name. I forgot. But yes, Melchizedek was also.
Well, that almost like disproves that. That is a different line of monotheists.
That's
so
true.
I think it's fair to say that, like, these people might also be monotheists at this point. And I would only say I don't know. I think it would be more because of their king's direct communication with this God that paired with their interactions with Abraham.
That makes sense.
So I just think it's interesting, like, that definitely they're recognizing that Isaac has this relationship with the Almighty God, and they're going, okay, so listen, we've been peaceful to you. Yeah, we haven't taken care of you per se, but we have not harmed you, and let's make a covenant that we will not harm each other.
Yeah, I do like that. I also want to note that Phicol is still the commander of the army. We saw him earlier on in
we did, right?
Yeah, with Abraham and the other Abimelech. Well, it may or may not be the other Abimelech. So who knows? But we do know it's the same commander of the army, the same name, Phicol. So
yeah,
could just be
I think
older.
it probably is the same Abimelech, just because there's no reference to it. Like, you're doing the same thing your father did.
Yeah,
that's the only reason that I think it's a different one. But I don't. Also, I feel like we keep hitting this.
Well,
wall
at the
of,
same
like,
time, though,
we could talk about it, but does it really matter if it's that same one? I think the
Um,
lessons from the first one are still being passed down if it's
yeah.
not the first one.
Yeah.
Which, did we talk another time about this naming of this place Beersheba? Because didn't he just name it again Beersheba?
Well, he called the well just now Sheba.
No, it says 33. He called it Sheba.
Yeah, the well.
Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day.
hmm
But like, wasn't it already named Beersheba back in Hagar times?
Yeah, but the well. So that's true, but they're saying that the name of the city is the city that was built around it. So there was no
But
city.
it sounds like it's named that because of the well being called Sheba. That's why it says, therefore, the name of the city is
Mhm.
Beersheba, because the well is named Sheba.
But he also did it,
it was
in
called-
Beersheba, because earlier it says in 23 he went up to Beersheba. So that's the place.
That's very confusing.
Now, is the writer saying he went up to Beersheba, meaning that he went up to the place that is now called Beersheba? Like, for example, if you said, "Oh, they," then the European settlers started building in New York, right? But at the time, it wasn't New York; it was New Amsterdam or something like that. But you're just saying New York because now it is New York. I don't know. Or you could say like, "Oh, they went into Texas," which at first was really mostly just Mexico before it became actually Texas in and of itself. So I don't know if that's just a way.
Well, hold on. So I just did a quick Google search just to like review
Mhm.
rather than try to scan back because I feel like it was named this before.
Yeah.
And it says, according to the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, the location gets its name from the patriarchs Abraham and Isaac. The
Mhm.
name comes from the Hebrew word for well of the oath
Yes.
or well of the seven, referencing the 7 ewe lambs used to seal a treaty between
Mhm.
Abraham and the Philistine king Abimelech. So it's been named this already.
Yes.
So it's just interesting. It seems like it's being named it again. And it even says from the patriarchs Abraham and Isaac it's being named
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So I just find that weird. I guess maybe Isaac is like reaffirming it.
Well,
you know,
Isaac
like,
is in verse 33, just to be clear, what Isaac is doing is just naming the well, Sheba. And then what the narrator is saying is, hey, this is like, that's why the city is still Beersheba to this day, you know?
But that's not. I think you're adding some words there.
No,
And
no.
I'm only getting into it because I think it's interesting. I don't know how important it is, but he's not saying therefore that's why it remains Beersheba. He says therefore this is called Beersheba, where it's like no, but it was already called
No, he said,
Beersheba.
therefore the name of the city is Beersheba to this. What is your version say,
Oh, that's
James?
not what mine says.
I'm going to read a different version and James is not paying attention. All right. Go ahead, Frank. What does your version say? Can you read it again?
Mine?
Yeah, 33.
It says, it does say to this day. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day. It still seems a little weird, though, to say therefore. I don't know. I feel like that's confusing.
Yeah, mine says, and to this day, the town that grew up there is called Beersheba, which means well of the oath.
Yeah, which is kind of what I was saying, I think.
Yeah, but I don't think that takes away. It just seems like it's being named that again.
Sure.
It was already that, and now it's being named that another time.
Sure. Or I could just be right. I think I like that.
I don't think, but like, you're not right. It's because it's well of the oath,
Mhm.
which is
Let's
the
let
oath.
the viewers decide.
And, no, but listen, and well of the 7 ewe lambs, which was the last time it was named.
yeah,
this.
but that well was stopped up, wasn't it? All the wells of Abraham were stopped
No,
up.
that wasn't that some, I don't know, but so hold on a second. So the wells were stopped up where, no, that was where Isaac was with the Abimelechs, with the Philistines.
Even in Gerar,
And
in
then
the
he
valley of
left
Gerar,
there.
all those.
So you're saying he left the place where they stopped up all the wells and then came all the way back to it and resettled there?
With Isaac?
Yes.
Yeah, remember Abraham and Isaac are
Isaac just
wandering.
left.
They don't actually have an actual place. They keep on moving around, and especially
No,
with
I
famine
know.
and stuff. So by the time Isaac goes back, the Philistines had already stopped up all these wells.
No, but hold on. The wells that he stopped up, right? So that was where Isaac sowed the land with the Philistines, right? Now it says, he had possessions of flocks and herds, as 14, and a great household, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father. Oh, I guess so maybe it's referring to in the old land where the
Yeah.
famine was, the Philistines, and went back there, filled it up.
Mm-hmm.
But was back there the valley of
Yeah,
Gerar?
because even because like verse 17, 18. So when the Philistines said to like leave, basically, Abimelech told them to leave, Isaac goes and camps in the valley of Gerar, and Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. So it's like all the things that Abraham did with the wells, the Philistines went out of their way and just stopped all of them, right? So he's just
that's petty as hell.
I know.
They went. I know you live here now and you're wealthy, but we're gonna go back to where you came from and basically destroy where you came from.
Basically,
because we're so mad about how you've been blessed. That makes it seem so much more intense. I thought it was like they were kind of like ruining the wells that he had right then and there on what is Philistine land.
Yeah, and then it ends with Esau. So I remember Isaac has two twin sons, Jacob and Esau.
Yep.
Esau now is 40 years old, and he takes Judith and Basemath as his wives. I guess he has two wives. And they're both Hittites, which means they're both. Well, I guess that's probably a problem because I think that's they're making it a point that they're Hittites. They're not really part of the same culture, and they're just both Isaac and Rebecca aren't really a fan of their daughters-in-law. They just make life bitter for them.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I was about to say, like, if you they made life bitter for them. That's why it seems like they probably won't like them. It's not just like, oh, they're not our people, we don't like them. So I'm curious what the not like ends up coming from, and I'm sure we will be told.
I do think that it's an important lesson to always remember pretty much the most important decision most people make will be who you spend your life with, right?
Yeah.
And so by making a poor decision in that regard could obviously, ruin aspects of life. So maybe this is just Esau's a bad guy.
Esau.
I always say Esau, but whatever. You know what I realized though? Remember the care and intention that Abraham took to get Isaac his wife? And we don't see any real care and intention that Isaac is taking for Esau to get his wife. Or wives, plural, which is also not normal, right? I don't know if that's normal or not at this time.
It's not that. I think it's normal.
It's normal
because even Abraham had other wives. So I'm not totally sure, but definitely at the very least, it sounds like he might have chosen people that for some reason are an issue, and I wonder if it's because of the peoples in which they are taken from, or just their action. Yeah, it's interesting how the culture is kind of mentioned here and there.
I don't even know too much about the Hittites. But they were mentioned earlier before.
They were.
Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out.
Literally a next episode on Dragon Ball Z. They just did that in the Bible. Wow. I didn't know Dragon Ball Z was a Christian show.
Yeah, it's like the Chronicles of Narnia, but, modernized.
No, that's actually like a Christian thing. Dragon Ball Z is definitely not a Christian thing.
I think it is, man. It's a religious... I've actually met a priest once that said... reading the Lord of the Rings, he considers like praying because there's so much heavy religious and specifically Christian and Catholic. I'm listening to. Do you listen to Pints with Aquinas? No, you would love it. There's an episode. I love Aquinas. He's great. Yeah, and there's this guy on it now. He's like an old linguist from like Oxford and such, and he's a hobbit of a man, and they're smoking pipes, which is so sick. But anyway, so as they're doing it. They're talking about the relationship between C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and like all the, etc. Really, really interesting stuff. Yeah, that's fascinating. So that's your media recommendation. Yes, media recommendation. Right. Ken, do you have any media recommendations?
For this one, no, I don't.
I don't think I do either.
You just gave one. I don't know if it's related that much, but it's good.
No, yours.
I'll take it.
I guess you gave it.
Mine is Pints with Aquinas.
Yeah. I guess mine is Lord of the Rings. I don't know.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the entire thing.
Or Dragon Ball Z.
And Dragon Ball Z. Whoa! All right, we way past our quota. We're gonna run out of media to recommend. There's not enough media in the world.
I want the record to show Franklin as a child was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. So much so that
my Instagram reel algorithm is nuts.
Right. Numerous occasions you try to turn Super Saiyan. Anyway.
Like I turn to God sometimes and go, "Talk to me in a dream."
Yeah,
that's how
that's how I need to though. And I'm like,
if I was doing something wrong, give me a plague. Like I'll know, I will repent.